Admiral Kang stood frozen before the massive display screen aboard the Imperial flagship Dominion. The sensor readings made no sense. A vessel of unknown design had appeared at the edge of civilized space, moving at impossible speeds through hyperspace lanes that should have torn any known ship apart. The bridge hummed with tension as dozens of officers worked frantically at their stations. Red warning lights bathed everything in an ominous glow. The Dominion was the pride of the Imperial Navy, a massive dreadnought stretching 12 kilometers from bow to stern, armed with enough firepower to crack a planet in half. Yet Admiral Kang had never felt more helpless. "Run the database scan again," Kang ordered his navigation officer, though he knew it was pointless. "Sir, we've run it 12 times. No match for the hull composition, energy signature, or propulsion system," Lieutenant Yoon replied, sweat beading on his forehead despite the ship's climate control. His fingers danced across holographic displays, showing energy readings that defied every known law of physics. The mysterious craft wasn't just fast, it was impossibly elegant. Where Imperial ships were built like flying fortresses, all angular, armor plating and massive weapon arrays, this vessel flowed like liquid metal. Its hull seemed to shift and shimmer, reflecting starlight in patterns that hurt to look at directly. No exhaust trails, no heat signatures, no gravitational disturbance. It moved through space like a ghost made of starlight. "Sir," called out Sensor Technician Park from across the bridge, "the unknown vessel is emitting some kind of scanning beam. It's penetrating our shields like they're not even there." Kang felt his blood run cold. The Dominion's shields could withstand the combined firepower of a dozen enemy battleships. They had been tested against every known weapon in the galaxy, yet this stranger was peering through them as easily as looking through glass. "What are they scanning?" Kang demanded. "Everything, sir. Hull composition, weapons systems, crew quarters, even our computer networks. It's like they're taking pictures of our souls." The mysterious craft was now broadcasting something, not words but pure information. Mathematical concepts, star charts, energy formulas that made the Empire's best scientists look like children playing with building blocks. Whatever species had built this ship, they were centuries ahead of galactic civilization. Emergency protocols activated across the fleet as junior officers rushed between stations, their faces pale with fear. The Empire's most advanced technology suddenly felt primitive, ancient, laughable. "Admiral," whispered Commander Min, the ship's chief science officer, "the scanning beam just mapped our entire computer database. They know everything. Our fleet, positions, our weapon capabilities, our strategic plans, all of it." The bridge fell silent except for the quiet hum of life support systems. Through the massive viewport, stars stretched into infinity, cold and distant. Somewhere out there, an unknown species had just demonstrated that the mighty Galactic Empire was nothing more than insects playing at war. Captain Lee burst onto the bridge, her uniform disheveled from running through the corridors. "Admiral, 3 more identical vessels just appeared in the outer rim. They're scanning our military installations." The tactical display updated, showing 4 pulsing red dots scattered across Imperial space. Each unknown vessel was the size of a city, yet moved with the grace of a hunting bird. They had appeared simultaneously across thousands of light years, suggesting coordination that shouldn't be possible. "How did they get past our early warning systems?" Kang asked, though he already suspected the answer. "They didn't trigger them. Sir, it's like they just materialized. No hyperspace wake, no energy buildup, nothing. One moment empty space, the next moment they were there." Kang watched the tactical display update in real time. The unknown vessels were methodically scanning every Imperial facility they encountered. Military bases, research stations, civilian colonies, nothing escaped their attention. They moved with purpose, following flight patterns that suggested intimate knowledge of Imperial territory. "Sir," Lieutenant Yoon's voice cracked with strain, "the lead vessel is changing course. It's heading directly for us." Through the viewport, the mysterious ship grew larger as it approached. Up close, its alien beauty was even more striking. The hull seemed to be made of some kind of living metal that rippled and flowed like water. Strange symbols appeared and disappeared across its surface, not painted or etched, but growing from the metal itself like luminous flowers. "Battle stations. suggested Captain Lee, her hand hovering over the alert button. Kang almost laughed. Battle stations. Against what? The Empire's greatest weapons had proven useless against these visitors. Their shields were meaningless, their armor pointless. For the first time in his 30-year military career, Admiral Kang faced an enemy that could destroy his entire fleet without breaking stride. Kang's hands trembled as he reached for the emergency communication array. The device would send an instantaneous message to Imperial Command, alerting them to the crisis. But what could he tell them? That humanity's greatest empire had encountered something beyond their comprehension? That their 1,000-year reign of dominance had ended in a single moment? The unknown vessel came to a stop just outside weapons range. Though Kang suspected that distance meant nothing to these beings, it hung in space like a sleeping giant, beautiful and terrifying, waiting. For the first time in 1,000 years, the Galactic Empire faced the unknown, and Admiral Kang realized they were completely, utterly outmatched. The Empire's Xenodiplomacy Corps worked frantically aboard their specialized vessel, the Harmony. Ambassador Park paced nervously across the bridge as his team of linguists and cultural experts prepared their most sophisticated first contact protocols. The diplomatic ship bristled with communication arrays, each one capable of broadcasting, in thousands of different frequencies and formats. "Begin standard greeting sequence," Park ordered, watching as his crew activated the massive transmission equipment. The Harmony had been designed specifically for moments like this. First, contact with unknown species. Its hull was painted in soft, peaceful colors, and it carried no weapons beyond basic defensive systems. The communications array came alive with activity. Holographic displays showed waves of information streaming toward the mysterious vessel. Mathematical concepts, prime numbers, basic chemistry, peaceful imagery from hundreds of different worlds. The Empire had perfected these protocols over centuries of expansion, successfully making contact with over 3,000 different species, broadcasting in Zephyrian, Corallian, Ancient Stellar, and 9,997 other languages, reported communications specialist Han, her fingers dancing across quantum keyboards that could process millions of linguistic combinations simultaneously. The team worked with practiced efficiency. Dr. Cho activated the universal gesture protocols, transmitting three-dimensional recordings of peaceful greetings from every known species. The ship's AI systems generated mathematical sequences based on galactic constants, the speed of light, atomic weights, harmonic frequencies that any advanced civilization should recognize. Hours crawled by like days. The mysterious vessel hung in space, silent and still, its hull continuing to shift and shimmer with those strange flowing patterns. Park found himself staring at it through the viewport, mesmerized by its alien beauty. The ship didn't look built. It looked grown, like some massive crystal formation that had learned to fly among the stars. Junior Officer Lee monitored the scanning equipment, reporting energy fluctuations and gravitational anomalies that made no sense according to Imperial science. "Sir, the vessel appears to be analyzing our transmissions in real time. It's not just receiving them, it's studying them, breaking them down into component parts." "Keep broadcasting," Park commanded, though doubt crept into his voice. Usually, unknown species responded within minutes. The fact that this ship remained silent suggested either complete disinterest or something far more troubling, complete understanding without need for response. The bridge crew worked in tense silence, cycling through every communication protocol in the Imperial database. They transmitted star charts showing peaceful trade routes, offered gifts of technology and knowledge, even played music from 100 different worlds. Nothing seemed to provoke any reaction from the mysterious vessel. Then, without warning, their communications array crackled to life. "We are human. We seek peaceful dialogue." The words came through crystal clear, transmitted on a frequency that shouldn't have been possible to achieve without massive equipment. Park stared at the translation screen in shock. Not only had the unknown species responded, but they had done so in perfect galactic standard, the official language of the Empire, spoken by trillions of beings across thousands of worlds. "Human," Park repeated the word slowly, as if testing its weight. "Computer, Search all databases for species. Designation human. The ship's advanced AI systems hummed for several seconds before responding. No match found in xenobiology databases, no match found in historical records, no match found in mythology or fiction archives. Species designation human does not exist in Imperial records. Communications Officer Kim leaned forward, her face pale with confusion. Sir, they're responding in perfect galactic standard. Not just the words, the accent, the grammatical structure, even the cultural nuances. How is that possible when we've never encountered them before? Before Park could formulate an answer, alarms began blaring throughout the bridge. Through the viewport, they could see Imperial escort ships moving into formation around the human vessel. The massive warships, Thunder and Lightning, flanked the mysterious craft, their weapon systems powered, but not yet armed. "This is Admiral Zhang of the Imperial Navy," came a transmission from the lead escort ship. "Unknown vessel, please follow our ships to Diplomatic Station 7 for formal first contact procedures." The human ship's response was immediate and breathtaking. Instead of following the escort ships, it began to move in ways that defied every law of physics Park knew. The vessel flowed through space like liquid mercury, executing turns and accelerations that should have crushed any crew inside from the gravitational forces. The Imperial escorts tried to keep pace, their pilots pushing their ships to maximum performance. But it was like watching elephants try to dance with a butterfly. The human vessel spun and twisted through three-dimensional space with impossible grace, demonstrating maneuvering capabilities that made the Empire's best fighters look like clumsy cargo haulers. "By the stars," whispered Navigator Choi, "look at those acceleration readings. They're pulling maneuvers that would liquefy any known biological species." The demonstration continued for several minutes, the human ship weaving between the escort vessels in complex patterns that seemed almost playful. It was clear they weren't trying to escape. They were showing off, demonstrating capabilities that rendered Imperial technology obsolete. Then came the moment that changed everything. Admiral Sung, apparently frustrated by the display, ordered his ships to fire warning shots across the human vessel's bow. Brilliant beams of coherent energy lanced through space, the same weapons that could vaporize asteroids and punch through the armor of enemy dreadnoughts. The energy beams struck the human ship's hull and simply disappeared. Not reflected, not absorbed, not deflected. They vanished as if they had never existed at all. The mysterious vessel continued its graceful dance through space, completely unaffected by weapons that could destroy cities. "Sir," Kim whispered, her voice barely audible over the bridge's electronic humming, "our most advanced weapons, they're completely useless." Park stared at the tactical displays showing energy readings that made no sense. The human ship hadn't even bothered to raise shields. Their hull had simply negated the weapons fire through some technology beyond Imperial understanding. For the first time in his diplomatic career, Ambassador Park realized he wasn't conducting first contact with a primitive species seeking to join galactic civilization. He was witnessing the arrival of something far more advanced than anything the Empire had ever encountered. The humans weren't asking for permission to exist in Imperial space. They were announcing their presence. Emperor Rin convened an emergency session in the Grand Throne Room, the most secure location in the galaxy. The massive chamber stretched upward into darkness, its walls lined with holographic displays showing the Empire's vast territories. Usually these displays brought comfort, thousands of star systems under Imperial control, countless worlds paying tribute to his power. Today they showed only terror. The throne itself was carved from a single piece of crystallized starlight harvested from the heart of a dying sun. It had taken the Empire's best engineers 50 years to create, a symbol of technological mastery that had lasted for 8 centuries. Now it felt like a child's toy compared to what they faced. Holographic displays flickered to life around the chamber, each one showing identical human vessels appearing across 12 sectors simultaneously. The ships materialized without warning, as if they had always been there and reality had simply forgotten to notice them until now. Each vessel demonstrated the same impossible technological superiority, moving through space with a grace that made Imperial engineering look primitive. "How many ships?" the Emperor demanded, his voice echoing through the vast chamber. His usual confidence was gone, replaced by something he had never experienced before: genuine fear. General O stepped forward nervously, his military decorations clinking softly in the silence. The old soldier had commanded fleets in a dozen wars, faced down rebellions and alien invasions with unwavering courage. Now his hands shook as he accessed his datapad. 47 confirmed, Your Majesty, each one scanning our installations, mapping our territories. They appear simultaneously across impossible distances, some separated by thousands of light years, yet they arrived at exactly the same moment. The Emperor leaned forward on his throne. Our weapons? Completely ineffective against their shields. Your Majesty, we've tested every weapon in our arsenal. Plasma cannons, antimatter torpedoes, even experimental gravity bombs. The human ships don't even seem to notice our attacks. Intelligence Director Zhang stepped from the shadows, her cybernetic eye glowing softly as she processed incoming data streams. Half her face had been replaced with advanced computer interfaces during a spy mission decades ago, making her more machine than woman. She was the Empire's master of secrets, the person who knew everything worth knowing in the galaxy. Director Zhang, the Emperor's voice carried a note of desperation. Tell me you have answers. Zhang activated a three-dimensional star map that filled the center of the throne room. The galaxy appeared in perfect detail, every star system color-coded according to Imperial control. Red dots marked the locations of human vessels, scattered across the map like drops of blood. They're studying us, Your Majesty, cataloging our weaknesses. Every military base, every fleet position, every strategic resource, they have complete intelligence on our empire. Her mechanical voice carried no emotion, but the implications were terrifying. The star map zoomed in on individual systems, showing human ships positioned at critical points throughout Imperial space. They weren't randomly scattered. They were strategically placed to observe key installations, major shipping routes, and military strongholds. Look at this pattern, Zhang continued, her cybernetic implants interfacing directly with the holographic display. They've positioned vessels to monitor our three largest shipyards, our primary military academies, and our most secret research facilities. They know exactly what to watch. The Emperor's voice shook with barely controlled fear. How is it possible that an entire species developed without our knowledge? Our scouts have mapped every system for millennia. Our surveillance network covers half the galaxy. Admiral Kim, the Empire's chief naval strategist, stepped forward. His uniform was immaculate as always, but his face showed the strain of the past few hours. Your Majesty, we've been analyzing their movement patterns. These ships didn't come from outside our territory. They revealed themselves from within it. Impossible, the Emperor snapped. Our sensors would have detected them. That's just it, Your Majesty, Zhang replied grimly, her mechanical eye projecting data directly into the holographic display. These humans haven't just arrived. They've been here. The quantum signatures we're detecting suggest some of these vessels have been in our space for decades, possibly centuries. The throne room fell silent, except for the quiet hum of advanced electronics. The implications were staggering. While the Empire had been expanding across the galaxy, conquering world after world, an unknown species had been watching from the shadows. They've been studying us, Zhang continued, learning our language, our customs, our military tactics. They know everything about our civilization, but we know nothing about theirs. Every diplomatic transmission we've sent has been analyzed and catalogued. Every battle we've fought has been observed and recorded. Emperor Rin stood from his throne, his elaborate robes rustling in the artificial gravity. Show me their technology. Show me how they're doing this. The holographic display shifted to show detailed scans of a human vessel. The ship's hull seemed to exist in multiple dimensions, simultaneously, phasing in and out of normal space-time. Energy readings fluctuated in patterns that made no sense according to Imperial science. We can't understand their technology, Your Majesty, admitted Chief Scientist Dr. Yoon, her voice barely above a whisper. Their ships appear to manipulate fundamental forces we didn't even know existed. They're not just advanced. They're operating on principles of physics we haven't discovered yet. Reports flooded in from across the Empire. Human vessels had appeared near the military fortress of Titan Prime, scanning the Empire's most powerful weapons. They had materialized above the research world of Kepler Station, studying advanced Imperial technology with casual interest. Most disturbing of all, they had positioned themselves near the Imperial core worlds, close enough to observe the government's most sensitive communications. Panic began spreading through the Imperial command structure like wildfire. Junior officers whispered in corridors about weapons that couldn't touch the enemy, shields that provided no protection, and strategies that seemed childish compared to human capabilities. "Your Majesty," General O's voice cracked with stress, "our military supremacy, maintained for millennia, has been rendered obsolete overnight. Every tactical advantage we've held, every technological edge we've developed, it all means nothing against these humans." The Emperor sank back onto his throne, the weight of empire suddenly feeling unbearable. For 1,000 years, the Galactic Empire had been the dominant force in known space. Their technology was supreme, their military unstoppable, their intelligence network comprehensive. In a single day, they had discovered they were nothing more than insects being studied by giants. Through the vast windows of the throne room, stars twinkled peacefully in the darkness. Somewhere among those distant suns, 47 human ships continued their methodical observation of Imperial civilization, gathering data with the patient efficiency of scientists studying a particularly interesting specimen. The age of Imperial dominance was over, and Emperor Rin was beginning to understand that humanity's arrival wasn't an invasion, it was an awakening. The lead human vessel finally agreed to a face-to-face meeting aboard the Imperial flagship Dominion. Admiral Kang stood nervously in the main docking bay, surrounded by his most elite guards. The massive chamber could hold a dozen shuttlecraft, its polished metal walls reflecting the harsh white lights that illuminated every corner. Security. Scanners hummed quietly, though Kang suspected they would be useless against whatever technology the humans possessed. The airlock hissed open with a sound like escaping steam. A figure emerged from the strange, flowing entrance portal that seemed to bend light around its edges. Captain Han stepped onto the bridge, and every person in the room fell silent. She appeared remarkably similar to several known humanoid species, yet subtly different. Where most galactic races showed the rough edges of evolution, scars from their climb up the food chain, adaptations to harsh environments, humans seemed refined, perfected. Her movements were too graceful, her posture too confident, her eyes too knowing. She carried herself with the quiet authority of someone who had never doubted their place in the universe. "I am Captain Han of the Earth vessel, Wanderer," she said calmly, in perfect galactic standard. Her voice carried no trace of an accent, no hint of the linguistic struggles that marked most species when speaking foreign languages. "We've been observing your empire for 3 centuries. Admiral Kang struggled to maintain composure, his military training warring with the growing certainty that he was completely out of his depth. "Observing? From where? Our sensor networks cover every inhabited system. Our deep space monitors track everything larger than an asteroid." Captain Han smiled, and the expression was somehow both friendly and terrifying. "We've been here all along, Admiral, hidden in plain sight. Your empire expanded past 47 of our research stations over the past 200 years. You built colonies within scanning range of our facilities, established trade routes through our territory, even fought battles near our observation posts." She gestured, and the air around her shimmered. Suddenly, holographic images filled the docking bay, detailed recordings of Imperial activities spanning centuries, fleet movements, diplomatic meetings, even classified military operations that should have been completely secret. "We've catalogued every species you've conquered." Han continued matter-of-factly, as the holograms showed Imperial forces overwhelming world after world. "Every technology you've stolen, every weakness in your military structure, every flaw in your political system." The recordings were impossibly detailed. They showed Imperial admirals planning strategy in secure bunkers, scientists developing new weapons in hidden laboratories, even Emperor Rin's private conversations in the throne room. The humans had been watching everything with the patient attention of researchers studying an interesting species. "Impossible!" Emperor Rin's voice echoed through the communication system, transmitted from the throne room light years away. No technology could penetrate our security measures. Captain Han turned toward the communication array, as if she could see the Emperor through the quantum entanglement channels. Your security measures are impressive, Your Majesty, for a species at your level of development, but you're still thinking. In terms of hiding from threats you can detect, we simply exist in ways your instruments cannot perceive. She waved her hand, and the holographic display changed to show technical specifications of Imperial technology. Ships, weapons, defensive systems, all analyzed down to the molecular level, with detailed reports on their capabilities and limitations. Your fleet formations haven't changed in 300 years, Han observed, highlighting tactical patterns that Imperial admirals thought were classified secrets. Your weapons technology hasn't advanced significantly in 500 years. You've simply made bigger versions of the same basic designs. Your political structure is brittle, held together by fear rather than genuine loyalty. Admiral Kang felt his legs grow weak. You're saying we're primitive? Not primitive, Han corrected gently. Predictable. Your species follows patterns we've seen before in dozens of other civilizations. Rapid expansion, technological stagnation, political corruption, eventual collapse. It's a common cycle among young species. The bridge crew exchanged terrified glances. Young species, how old were these humans? Captain Han seemed to read their thoughts. Humanity achieved faster than light travel 4,000 years ago. We've been exploring the galaxy, while your ancestors were still discovering fire. We could have ended your empire at any point during its existence, but we chose observation over conquest. She paused, letting the implications sink in. We wanted to understand you before revealing ourselves, to see if your species would develop wisdom along with power, or if you would follow the same destructive path as so many others. The holographic display shifted again, showing recordings of Imperial conquest. Planets burned, civilizations destroyed, entire species enslaved or exterminated. The humans had watched it all, documenting every atrocity with scientific detachment. You stood by and watched genocide, Admiral Kang whispered, horror and accusation in his voice. We intervened when we could, Han replied quietly. Many species. You think you destroyed actually escaped to worlds under our protection. The Zephyrians you conquered 2 centuries ago. Half their population evacuated to human-protected colonies before your fleets arrived. The extinct Corallians? They're thriving on 17 different worlds in our space. The docking bay fell silent, except for the quiet hum of life support systems. The implications were staggering. Not only had humans been watching the Empire's expansion, they had been actively undermining it, saving species that the Empire thought it had destroyed. Your observation period is over, Han announced, her voice carrying a note of finality. Humanity has decided it's time for your species to evolve or face the consequences of your choices. Admiral Kang stared at the human captain, finally understanding the true nature of their situation. The Empire hadn't encountered a new alien species to conquer or negotiate with. They had been discovered by their caretakers, and now their behavior was being evaluated. The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. Humans had been studying them like laboratory specimens, and now the experiment was entering its final phase. Captain Han activated a holographic display that transformed the entire docking bay into a 3-dimensional map of the galaxy. But this wasn't the galaxy that Admiral Kang knew. Instead of the familiar Imperial territories marked in red, hundreds of new civilizations appeared as glowing points of light scattered across the spiral arms. Each one pulsed with its own unique color, creating a beautiful tapestry of life that the Empire had never suspected existed. This is the galaxy as humanity sees it, Han announced, her voice carrying the weight of revelation. Dozens of previously unknown civilizations, all under human protection. The display zoomed in on individual star systems, revealing thriving worlds that Imperial scouts had marked as uninhabited. Cities of crystal that reached toward alien suns, vast orbital habitats that housed billions of beings, underwater civilizations that had evolved in ways the Empire couldn't imagine. Each world showed signs of advanced technology and peaceful development. The Delphinians of the Outer Spiral, Han pointed to a cluster of aquatic worlds, developed biotechnology that can heal any disease. The crystalline collective created energy sources that could power your entire empire for millennia without harming a single planet. The ethereal assembly learned to manipulate time itself. Admiral Kang stared in wonder and growing terror. All this knowledge, all these potential allies or threats, hidden from Imperial detection for centuries. How many? He whispered. 317 species under active protection, another 812 developing independently in human-monitored space. We've been building a community while your empire built weapons. The holographic display shifted, showing the Emperor's throne room in perfect detail, despite being transmitted across impossible distances. Emperor Rin sat rigid on his crystalline throne, his face pale with the understanding of what he faced. "We offer you a choice, Emperor Rin," Han announced, her voice carrying clearly through the quantum communication link. "Join a new galactic confederation based on cooperation and scientific advancement, or continue your path of expansion and oppression, alone." The Emperor's hands gripped the armrests of his throne until his knuckles turned white. "What makes you think we'll agree to your terms? The Empire has stood for 1,000 years. We have fleets that could crack planets, weapons that could burn solar systems." Han's expression remained unchanged, but something shifted in the air around her. The temperature seemed to drop, and the lights in the docking bay dimmed slightly. "Because 47 human vessels are currently positioned at every major Imperial facility. Your fleet commanders are receiving detailed scans of their ship's structural weaknesses at this very moment." As if summoned by her words, emergency communications began flooding in from across the Empire. Admiral Kang watched his tactical display light up with reports from terrified commanders. Human ships had appeared at the massive shipyards of Titan, Station, at the military academy on Centauri Prime, at the secret weapons research facility in the Forbidden Sector. Each vessel transmitted detailed technical specifications of Imperial defenses, highlighting exactly how they could be neutralized. And because these species, Han gestured to the holographic display, which now showed hundreds of previously hidden civilizations, have been waiting for this moment. The display came alive with activity. Ships began emerging from hidden bases throughout the galaxy, sleek vessels that moved like living creatures, geometric craft that folded space around themselves, energy beings that traveled as pure light between the stars. Each one bore the subtle markings that identified them as part of humanity's protection network. Admiral Kang stared at the tactical display in growing horror. Every Imperial stronghold was surrounded by alien vessels that had somehow approached, undetected. The mighty fortress of Omega Station, supposedly impregnable, was bracketed by 6 unknown ships that registered energy readings beyond anything in Imperial databases. "You're threatening us," Emperor Rin whispered, his voice carrying through the communication link like a prayer to absent gods. "We're offering you evolution," Han replied, her tone remaining maddeningly calm. "The age of conquest is over. The age of cooperation begins now. Your empire can adapt and join the galactic community, or it can remain isolated, while the rest of the galaxy moves forward." She gestured again, and the holographic display showed Imperial space as it would appear after the transformation. Trade. Routes connected dozens of species. Scientific research stations shared knowledge across vast distances, and worlds that had been strip-mined by Imperial greed began to heal under alien technologies. "Your choice is simple," Han continued. "Join us willingly and help build something better than Empire, or watch from the sidelines as the galaxy grows beyond your reach." Throughout Imperial space, human ships began openly patrolling the major space lanes. But they weren't alone. Other species emerged from hiding, civilizations that had been secretly protected by humanity for decades. The bat-like Nixthara revealed their asteroid cities hidden in the Empire's own mining belts. The gaseous Veltari manifested their cloud ships, from within nebulae that Imperial scouts had thought were empty. The plant-like Arborians activated massive bioships that had been disguised as space debris for centuries. The galaxy was suddenly full of life, wonder, and technologies that made Imperial achievements look like a child's first attempts at building. Captain Han stood calmly in the center of it all, waiting for an answer that would determine the fate of the only empire left in known space. Emperor Rin stared at displays showing his fleets surrounded, his territories infiltrated, his greatest secrets laid bare. Faced with the reality that humanity could end his empire effortlessly with a single word, he made the only choice that offered survival. "We accept your terms," he whispered. The Galactic Empire was no more. In its place rose the Galactic Confederation, with humanity as its quiet, watchful guardians. The age of conquest had ended, and the age of cooperation began among the stars. The end.